Wow. Man, everything is popping up. That's why we like it. All right, people, I'm not going to hold anybody else up any longer. We are live. This is the first episode of the VF Cast, myself, VF Baller. And I'm just getting one more link out there. Once I get that out there, we're going to be good to go. Look like everything is running very, very smooth. I appreciate everybody who's already here. Look like I got a pretty good audience already. Looking really, really good, and I appreciate it. On all three platforms, you can find this on my Twitch channel, which is VF Baller. You can also find it on the YouTube channel, which is the VF Cast channel, which I just started that up about a week and a half ago, and it's also on Facebook gaming, on my gaming channel, the Facebook gaming channel. You guys can check that out as well. We're gonna have some fun today. We're gonna just talk about who I am and why I started this podcast and why everything is the way it is as far as the direction this podcast is going to go. I want to get a few things out of the way. None of this stuff is scripted. It's everything just going to be off the cuff. I never was a fan of scripting anything, so that's just the way it's going to be. So we're going to be doing everything the way I normally do it on the First and Frame Rates channel, or the podcast, whatever the case may be. So you guys will I think you guys will enjoy the way I do this. I think you guys will like it. And let me just I'm still waiting for this link to pop up for the Facebook side. It's kind of weird how it pops up. Oh, there it is. I got it. Okay, I got it. So you can catch me on all three platforms: Facebook, Twitch, and I'm also on Facebook as well. And let's see, one more thing. There we go. And one more, and that is right here. So I'm gonna put this one up here. That'll be fine. What's going on, Quayface? Good to see you, bro. Good to see you here. Thank you for stopping by, and I hope you enjoyed this episode that I'm about to put together. Just a little bit. I'm gonna have to, once I get this thing to SoundCloud, I'm gonna have to edit this out. You gotta understand, it's like I'm really trying to get this thing, holding this all together. But I got it. All right, so where am I? One more thing. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and get this thing up and running. Let's go ahead and get it started. And here we are. This is, like I said, this is the VF Cast, and I am VF Baller, and we're going to be talking about a lot of things today. But there's some things that's going to be basically ad-libbed. There's a lot of things that we're just going to talk about to where, let me fix this right here. There we go. There's a lot of things that's going to be ad-libbed, but for the most part, I'm going to give you a pretty much overall view of why I started this podcast, what this podcast means, and what I want to do with this podcast going forward. Mainly, this podcast is going to be where I'm just talking about gaming in general, not necessarily the sports side, because I mostly talk about sports gaming on First and Frame Rates, or the case may be. Mostly, I talk about sports and sports gaming, and but this podcast is gonna be a little bit different. What you want, my baby? You want my hat? Where's my other hat? You can get my other hat right there for me. You don't want it no more? Well, there it is. This is my son. Like I said, none of this stuff is gonna be ad-libbed. It's like, I mean, none of this stuff is gonna be scripted. It's just my son came in, he saw me with my hat on. He doesn't want it anymore. He just walked off. But like I said, this podcast is basically going to be me talking about gaming in general, all the things that happen throughout the week, all the things that happen that we may see that's a pretty decent topic. We're going to talk about how people react to games, how people gaming behavior, my behavior in gaming. I want to get your thoughts on your behavior in gaming. Just the main stuff that I want to get across when it comes to that kind of stuff. And I think it's going to be pretty neat when we get to it. If you guys don't mind, you guys can hit the like button, or if you're over on Facebook, hit the like button, share it. If you're on Twitch, you can find a way to share it or follow if you haven't already. It will be much appreciated because I am in the process of trying to make this grow, and we'll just see how that goes. All right, well, now I got all the kinks out of the way. This is who I am. I am a gamer, and I love to game. I started out when I was young, and very young. I think I started when I was maybe 3 or 4 years old, and it just never stopped from there. I mean, I've been on a quest to just play games. I'm the only kid, so with that being said, I've always been the one to actually stay to myself, and I just played video games on my own. Not necessarily the only kid. I'm the only boy. I would say that. I have three other sisters, and it was just me to myself. And it always started back with the Atari. My mom, she owned the Atari 2600, and the Atari 2600 was one of the console that I actually thought was pretty cool. I basically was playing a lot of Pac-Man and Yard's Revenge. I remember playing some Missile Command was another game I played, and this was when I was like 3 or 4 years old when I first started. And from there, I ended up getting a Nintendo, and I was playing the NES, just like the early 80s or whatever the case may be, mid 80s. And I've been playing Mario, I've been playing all these other games, and I was fascinated with just trying to outsmart the computer. That's one of the things I've always wanted to do. I want to try my best to outsmart the computer, and I think I still relatively hold on to that to this day, to where I'm always trying to outsmart the computer, and I always play online. I always play offline because of I just never been a fan of playing online games, and it's just started something when I was young, just always playing those type of games by myself. And I played an extensive extensive amount of games on the NES. I remember playing Mario 1, 2, and 3, Contra, Double Dragon 1 and 2, RC Pro-Am. I played the Castlevania, Ninja Gaiden. It's just so many games I played back then. It's just something that I just carried on, and then I went over to the Super NES, and it just went from there. I started playing Street Fighter, playing ActRaiser, playing Legend of Zelda. It's just so many games I've played throughout that time. Now, on the flip side of that, my cousin, he was the Sega Genesis guy, and the Sega Genesis was his type of it was his console, and that's how I got experience with the Sega Genesis, to where I played the Nintendo stuff, he had the Sega Genesis stuff, and from there I used to play Joe Montana football, and I think that's when I really started playing football games, because even when I had an Atari, I had football games. I had Atari I had football on Atari. I remember having basketball, but I never really got into those. But for the most part, I was mostly started playing sports games when I got into the Sega stuff. I remember playing Joe Montana football, like I said, 92, 93 RBI baseball. And I remember, like, the only game on Nintendo I played that was sports related was, like, Bases Loaded. And I remember playing 10-Yard Fight and Tecmo Bowl. But even then, I was more of the Tecmo Bowl type on the Genesis. Because, like, not only just me, but, like, my other family members, they all was, like, mostly on the Sega Genesis. And I was the one on the Super Nintendo. And then I started playing a little bit of Madden or whatever. And pretty much that's, like, from there, that's where my football stuff has been. But even back then on Super Nintendo, like I said, I played the Street Fighters. I remember playing Castlevania 4, Super Off-Road. I mean, the list goes on and on of all the games I played. Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past. But, I mean, we could talk about those games at another time. Just going to keep going through my history. And from there, I jumped over to the N64 because at the time, my mom was dating somebody. And the person who she was dating, he had a PlayStation. I remember him getting a PlayStation. And I was vehemently against the PlayStation. I did not like the PlayStation at first. I was not a fan of playing with compact disc. What's going on, DJ? Good to see you, bro. I was not a fan of playing with compact disc. I was not a fan of I just wanted to play with cartridges. That's all I remember playing. So I ended up getting an N64, and one of the first games I got on there was obviously Super Mario 64. You know, Super Mario 64 was the game that I ended up getting, and ended up beating that. Semi beating it because I didn't know you had to get 120 stars. So I had to go back and do that because I technically beat it the way that you thought you're supposed to. You're supposed to beat Bowser. From there I went to not Super Mario Kart, just Mario Kart 64, which that was another game I played on any Super Nintendo. I played Mario Kart, the regular one. What's going on, Jerry Green? Good to see you over there on YouTube. DJ is over there on Twitch, and Combliminary is also over there on YouTube. Good to see you guys. Good to see you guys. But even from there, the N64, I left from there with playing Killer Instinct Gold. I remember playing the Ocarina of Time on N64. Also played a lot. I played a lot of other games. Not RBI Baseball, but All Star Baseball 99 was my game. I started playing NBA Showtime, and I think around this time was when I really started getting into the arcade sports titles, where it came to like NBA Jam. NBA Showtime, Hang Time, because I did play a little bit of NBA Jam on Super Nintendo, but I played a little bit of that in College Slam. But when N64 came out, and it felt like it was more of an upgrade to play NBA Showtime, that's when I really started running with it. And then at the time, I really wanted, I think that's when I really kind of lean over to PlayStation then, because I wanted to play NBA Jam Tournament Edition, because that felt like an arcade experience. Because even though I was deep into playing consoles, I was a big fan of the arcade scene. I used to love going to the arcade, and I remember playing NBA Jam, but the NBA Jam on Super Nintendo really never did. It never really captured me like I wanted it to. I wanted the arcade experience. So like I said, once the NBA Showtime and definitely NBA Hang Time, and I think that's one game I'm going to play on a retro stream one night. That's when I really wanted to lean toward the arcade sports. NFL Blitz came out for N64. Madden 64 came out over there on the N64 as well. Then I started playing the wrestling games. I started playing a whole bunch of games on there as well. Yeah, going to the arcade was great. Absolutely. Going to the arcade was absolutely phenomenal. It was one of the things that I really was very fond of. I used to love going to the arcade. And the thing about it is my friend, he used to work at an arcade, so we used to have all types of fun going to the arcade, getting free plays and all this. It was great. Also, it's one of the reasons why I really never gravitated towards Street Fighter on the Super Nintendo. It was one of the things I just did not want to really play. And I just wanted an arcade experience. So once the N64 dropped, that's something that I wanted. Then I realized the PlayStation and the Saturn, they tried to bring the arcade experience home. Like NBA Jam Tournament Edition for PlayStation was like damn near like arcade perfect. The Saturn one was better than that. It was better than the PlayStation. So that's when I started really wanting to get into CD-based games. And I remember playing Loaded. Then I realized that Tekken was out. And then Virtua Fighter was on the Saturn. And all this stuff was, that's when my gaming, like, I think that's when I really wanted to have, like, buy games. Because then I was more or less like, okay, what I wanted to do is play video games, but the Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis era, they were okay. But what I wanted to do was, like, I wanted to play like I played at arcades. Like DJ said, arcades was the itch. It was like a main event, weekend main event. Exactly. It's one of the things that I wanted to do. And I wanted to bring that home. Obviously, I couldn't own a Neo Geo. I mean, that wasn't happening. I wanted a Neo Geo because I was a big fan of Fatal Fury back then. But, we could dream, right? So, what I wanted to do is get a PlayStation. And the person that my mom was dating, I don't know if he had the PlayStation anymore. I think he ended up jumping over to the N64 because he was a big fan of NFL Blitz. And he did like the fact that the games didn't have any loading time. So I was kind of stuck with the N64, but I finally bought my first console that I bought with my own money because by then I had a job and everything. I finally bought a Sega Dreamcast, and when I bought that, I made sure I got all the arcade perfect stuff. So I never really owned a Saturn or a PlayStation until later, the PlayStation 1 until later, because the first disc-based console I bought was the Dreamcast. And when I got the Dreamcast, that's when I started getting the Street Fighter alphas. I started getting the Marvel vs. Capcoms. I started to get, I remember I got NBA Showtime. I got, from NBA Showtime, I jumped over to, I always got the NFL 2K, NBA 2Ks. Got those as well. I got Soul Calibur. Oh man, it's so many games that I got on the Dreamcast when I first got it. And it was just ridiculous. What's the other game? Dead or Alive 2. I got that. And I like pretty much skipped the entire generation of the fifth generation because N64 was mine, but I really wanted to get that Dreamcast, and I bought it. I remember buying it day one, $99.99. I remember getting that because I really wanted that, and I love the Dreamcast. I think it's probably my favorite console, neck and neck with the original Xbox. So I played the Neo Geo when it was at arcade too, DJ. I mean, and complimentary, aka expensive. Them things are still expensive. I mean, the console was $700. The games were like $200 a piece, and that was back in 1990. You know what I'm saying? That was like in 1990. So yeah, it was like ridiculous on how things played out with people buying one. And to this day, they're really expensive. They're down. They're a little bit lower now. You can probably find one around $400 now. You could probably find one maybe $350, $360 if you're lucky. And based on my collection, I may end up buying one. I mean, hopefully if everything goes well, I will end up. Those are the only two consoles I really want now outside of the newer ones. I want a Neo Geo and I want a TurboGrafx. Those are the only two retro consoles that I don't have yet, and I really want them. Excuse me. I mean, I don't want a Neo. I mean, I don't want a 3DO or any of those. Those are like weird. Those are like the weird consoles. The Apple Pippin. Like, who wants that? Like, I mean, yeah, if y'all didn't know, Apple, the same people who make these iPhones and stuff, they made a console back in the 90s called the Apple Pippin. Like, nobody wants that. You know what I'm saying? I don't want that. I would like to get a 3DO for one game and one game only. And that game would be basically for Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. That was like the definitive edition of Street Fighter at the time. And I think they had a definitive edition of John Madden as well. You know, Complimentary Sports. I can remember playing, watching Smurfs and playing Atari. His first console was the PS1. Oh, wow. Man, you trying to show your age. Man, my first console was the Atari 2600. The Atari 2600. That's really weird. But, but I jumped from there over to, no, like I said, I was on the Dreamcast heavy. And then my friends, I had a couple friends at my job that I was working at the time. They were trying to get me on the PlayStation 2. And I was adamant about it because this is a time where we all knew the Dreamcast was dying. We knew the Dreamcast wasn't coming out with more games, but I was trying my best. Like, MLB 2K2 is coming out. Tennis 2K2 is coming out. NFL 2K2 is coming out. The Dreamcast is not dying. And the Dreamcast ended up dying off, but I was adamant about holding on to that console. Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Ikaruga, that didn't come out over there. That came over there in Japan. Giga Wing 1 and 2. I was like adamant about it. I was a diehard Dreamcast fan, and my friends was like, yo, you need to play Madden on the PlayStation 2. You don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, man, I don't need that. I got NFL 2K2. I'm good. And don't get me wrong, NFL 2K2 was nice, but I had to admit, those player models on the PlayStation 2 of Madden 2001, Madden 2002, I really did not want to admit it, but they were like great. They were really good looking, not to mention all the other games. Like you had the Twisted Metal Black come out. You had all those games come out, and I'm sitting there still playing Sega GT. You know what I'm saying? I was still playing the games like that. And I mean, I know the PlayStation couldn't mess with me on the fighting games, so I always had them on the fighting games. Dreamcast was like killing them. But I was very reluctant to getting a PlayStation 2 because I didn't want a PlayStation 1 at the time. And also on the Dreamcast, I had my NFL Blitz, I had NBA Showtime. I had those games, so I was straight. But what happened was in 2001, the original Xbox came out. And I don't know if you can see behind me, I have all these original Xbox games. And Antonio, I mean, not Antonio, but Complimentary. Yeah, Madden 2001, man, those graphics, they were great. And I was a big fan of Madden 64. I wasn't like against it or anything. I was a big fan of Madden 64. And I never really didn't think about it. I didn't think about why EA Sports titles was not on the Dreamcast. I just felt that, 2K was the shit. You know what I'm saying? The NBA 2K, NBA 2K1, NFL 2K2. I love those games, and I never thought about playing Madden until, well, I'll get to the Madden thing in a minute. So what happened was the guy who, one of my coworkers at the time, I was working at a fast food joint. And I was just now getting out of high school. And he was telling me about the PlayStation 2 because he didn't have the PlayStation 2. His another one of the coworkers, he bought a PlayStation 2. And he used to go to his house and play it all the time. And he used to tell me, man, you need to get it. So what I did was, and I kind of regret this to this day, because I didn't want to do it, but I kind of did it reluctantly. I end up trading my Dreamcast to EB Games, and I end up trading it for store credit and basically for store credit because I end up trading it for the original Xbox when that came out. So I went without a PlayStation 2 for over a year because I remember the PlayStation 2 came out in March of 2000 and the Xbox came out in November 2001. So I rocked with the Dreamcast all the way up until then, and I traded all that stuff in for the original Xbox, because I already heard rumblings. There was supposed to be things like all the Sega games are going to be exclusive to the Xbox and all this other stuff. And Xbox did have exclusivity to a lot of games that was supposed to be on the Dreamcast. I think like Gun Valkyrie, Outrun 2, Shenmue 2, what other Sega? Crazy Taxi 3. They had a lot of games that was exclusive to the Xbox, but it was supposed to be on the Dreamcast. So what I did was I ended up trading it in, which I do regret, because it was a lot of games that I had. I had a lot of games on the Dreamcast at the time, and I traded in my Giga Wing 1 and 2. I traded in Street Fighter Alpha 3. I traded in Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I traded in all those great games on Dreamcast, which I got most of them back now. I got them on the shelf back there, but at the time, I think back on it, I wish I never did that. But I did jump over to the original Xbox. And to this day, I still have that original Xbox that I had, and that Xbox went through hell. It barely works. It works every now and then, but I don't even use it anymore because it's temperamental. So I have another Xbox. I have 3 Xboxes, but the original one I still have. And maybe I'll tell you the story about that Xbox, because that Xbox been through some stuff. But I ended up getting the original Xbox, and after that, that was a wrap. As far as me starting, that's when I really started collecting. I really started collecting when I got the original Xbox, because I didn't worry about pretty much collecting any PlayStation games, PlayStation 2, none of the Super Nintendo stuff, the Genesis, none of those things. I never really started collecting until the PlayStation, not the PlayStation, but I'm sorry, to the original Xbox. DJ says, remember there was no lag online player? Yep, I remember that. What was GoldenEye? 56K? No, GoldenEye was on the GoldenEye was on the N64. It was not online, and it ran at like 12 frames per second if you played with 4 players. It was like really, 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 it was really rough to play, but we got through it. You know, I mean, that game was like very, very laggy. But at 12 frames per second, me and my cousins, we made it happen. We made it happen. But I remember my first original Xbox game I bought. I remember, oh man, I can't remember the first one. I think it was Project Gotham. I think it was Project Gotham Racing. I could be, I don't know. It's so far back I can't remember. I remember buying Project Gotham Racing, and I remember buying some other games, but I know Project Gotham was one of them. And the game really changed for me when I bought Forza. When I bought Forza, that was a wrap. Because I had never played a racing game like that. I wasn't really into Gran Turismo like that. I was a big Forza fan, and when Forza 1 came out and the things that game did in 2004 was just phenomenal. That really changed the game for me. I mean, I remember getting the Project Gothams. I remember getting the Halos. You know, I got Halo 1 when that first came out. I think that was the other game. I remember getting Project Gotham, and I think I got Halo and something else. Could be Sega GT or something like that. I can't remember. But I played that Xbox till the wheels fell off, and I started collecting games for it. And I was really against it. I really did not like the PlayStation 2 at first. I was not a fan of the PlayStation 2, but I ended up getting one probably about a few months after I had an original Xbox, because there were some games over there exclusive that I wanted to play. But I started collecting for the original Xbox then, and that's when my addiction to picking up games started. That's basically when it started. Most of these games you see behind me that are original Xbox games I had, and then I lost, and I got them again. And pretty much that's where I always had a love for gaming. But let me fix this. Let me turn this way. No. Yeah, this way. That's right. There we go. I always had a love for gaming, but that's when it really took off. And from there, I was hooked. That's when I knew I was going to be gaming like forever. You know, and pretty much I kind of stuck with that to this day. And I know my history don't stop with the original Xbox, but I think it's just what you see now is what that's where I am. That's where I was then. So you don't. There's not too many more other stories about who I am as a gamer from the original Xbox up until now. Because I still treat gaming the same way, and most of my experiences are pretty much the same, as far as getting that together. As far as being a gamer and wanting all your games next to you and want all your games on hand so you can play whenever you want. And I always told myself, once I started collecting, I got to probably about 40. I probably got to about 40 games then. And then that's when I said, I want a PS2 and I want to start building a game room for myself. Now, mind you, I was still a guy in college, and I always said when I buy a house or whatever, I would get a game room, and I was gonna basically, have all these games at my fingertips. Oh, that's much better. And that's what I've done ever since. I remember one time my PlayStation 2 was stolen from me with some roommates I was living with. But all this time, like, I still had the original Xbox. I never went anywhere. I bought three. Jesus Christ, I'm coming to think about it. I bought 3 PlayStation 2s before I got the ones I have now. All of those are either I sold them, one was stolen, and I don't know the other one, whatever happened to the other one. My original Xbox, the one I still have to this day that I bought day one, was stolen at one point, but I retrieved it. And it's like really, really, really weird. But like I said, I think, the way I approach gaming now is that's the way I approach it when I knew I was going to start playing and collecting for the original Xbox. I knew that I was going to be able to get the games I want, and I want them in a room where I could just have my own, my own space and be able to play games like that. So that's basically who I am. I am technically an original Xbox collector by trade. I guess you could say that. And I love playing games. Like, now I have a ton of consoles that we'll talk about throughout the episodes of this podcast and all these other things. So we'll just get into other things while we keep going. Complimentary Sports asks, what would the ultimate game room have in it? I think that my bid for ultimate game room will have 4 flat screen TVs, PC setup. It will have a CRT, a cathode ray tube television. It will have sections to where certain generations will be in one spot, like the Nintendo, Super Nintendo will be one area, the PlayStation, Saturn, and N64 be like, they'll be set up by generations where the games would be, but all of them would necessarily hook up to, like, the old consoles will hook up to the CRT, the old box TV, but all the other ones that are like beyond that, they will be up on the they'll be on the flat screen TVs. Now, I said 4 because I say 2 of them should be for gaming and 2 of them should be able for where you can watch TV or sports or whatever. You should have at least 3 areas where you can sit down and relax. You should have a bar. You should have a nice size cooler for your drinks. I'm not necessarily a fan of having a place to cook. I don't think that should be in a game room. Also, I think you should have an area where you can take a shower. So you basically never have to leave unless you really, really have to. I think you should have, like, all type of memorabilia of your favorite things. Like, if you're into sports, you have your sports memorabilia. If you're into karate, you should have those type of things. If you're into anything that's your hobby, you should have that type of memorabilia all around the room. So that's basically like my ultimate game room. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's basically what, who I am. I mean, that's the title of I ain't gonna say the title of this podcast, but as far as no, I don't necessarily want an apartment. I just want an apartment in a room. I want an apartment in a house. I guess you could say that. I want like a studio apartment in the house with. I don't want no stove or no microwave or nothing. I just want a shower down there. You know, just a restroom in the place as well. So, but like I said, when it comes to me, VF Baller, the voice of a gamer, I guess we can jump into that now. I like to talk. I love this. I think I was born to do this, to be honest with you. I enjoy speaking to you guys. I can do this for hours if I need to. I love explaining things. I think the art of communication is a beautiful thing. And I think that's one thing that no one really do anymore. I also feel that communication and back and forth communication my wife is over there on Facebook and she said, I'm born to talk. I'm not following up with you. Leave me alone. I just feel that the art of communication is very, very important. And I think that in a sense that people that are willing to listen and bring that level of communication back, I think that dialogue is a perfect thing. I love you too, sweetie. But I feel that that's something that we're missing. And I feel that that's something that we're missing in this world of gaming. You have a lot of people that's in the business of gaming and content creation, and people that are just talking and they want you to listen. Now, obviously, it can sound like a contradiction because I tell you that I'm talking and I love the fact that you guys are listening. But the flip side of that, what I mean about that is I want you guys' feedback as well. I have a lot of plans for this podcast, and if things go well, maybe we'll get to a point where we can have dialogue on a bigger scale. But just getting back to the voice of a gamer thing, why I put that as the subtitle of this podcast. I want to be that voice to where the topics that we talk about make sense. There's not much of fanboyism. It's not necessarily stuff that's going to be straight down the middle. I want to be neutral, but I want to call bullshit when I see it, but I also want to call things when it's fair. Some people don't like to do that in this world of content creation because they're scared that people may say something to them. They're scared that they may not get any perks. They're scared that they might not get any good favor with developers or whatever the case may be. I mean, that's just how it is. To me, I've always been the type of person that I just want to be honest. I want to be straightforward. I want to be real with you guys. But I don't want to be real by telling you that I'm real. I want you guys to figure out that I'm a real person talking to you guys. I want you guys to figure it out. I don't want you guys to be sitting here saying, oh, he's just saying this for the clicks and views. Yo, I don't care, man. Overall, all three of these platforms, I got 8 people listening to me right now. And for the start of this first episode, I think that's phenomenal. Hopefully it'll grow to be something bigger than that. But I just want to be that voice to just actually I just wanted to keep it afloat because I'm not afloat. He said, I'm reading what DJ said. Okay, I had to float over here just to click the notification bell because Facebook are trying to keep your podcast. Yeah, Facebook is not, they haven't been doing a good job of promoting stuff. They've been doing a really poor job. And the thing about it is Facebook has a really good interface as far as their content creation. I really like what they do over at Facebook, but they don't really try to promote nothing. And I'm not a big fan of that, but we're going to keep working on that. I talked about the PlayStation 3 store leaving. And I'm pretty sure the Wii U store is going to be next. And I know a lot of people may not really think about this or whatever because, I'm not on that console. I don't care. I still play my PS3 heavily. But it's not even about that. It's about those games being gone once those services go down. And I want to be an honest voice about that. That's why I said voice of a gamer. I want to be that voice, just really give you guys some insight and talk about that. there's a lot of games that are out there, and maybe one day, I said I was going to do it on this episode, but I thought that would be too straightforward. Maybe I'll just do a regular live stream to where we're just going through the games that are there. And some of the games that don't have physical copies that we may not see again because they may not go onto another platform. I'll probably stream them, I'll play them, and we can all get some sort of insight to what that store had to offer. Because there are some phenomenal games on the PlayStation store, the PlayStation 3 store. Some of the greatest games of all time that no one never, I ain't say greatest games of all time. There's some of the greatest games you never heard of that are on that store. And no, they're not like up to date and all this all good stuff like, oh, I need these. I'm talking about like real good quality games that you can always go back to and say, hey, I got 20 minutes to play this game. I'm going to go play this real quick. And I think we as gamers, that is something that we don't even do anymore. I ain't gonna say we, and you know, people here, I know you guys come in, y'all play games, y'all do a really good job of playing games. Y'all do a phenomenal job of actually playing games and talking about games. You guys have a lot of knowledge. But your average gamer, I think they're missing out on the art of actually playing games. Looking at a game and seeing the artistic view of it, the creativity behind it, actually having fun because you're immediately immersed in what the game is about. Most people want to be immersed because they can do certain things on a game instead of seeing what the game has to offer and what challenge it may give you. And I think we always talk about that with Madden. We want to be immersed because of the modes. We want to be immersed because of what we see. Some people don't get immersed with games because of the challenge. You know what I mean? Some people aren't immersed with games because it gives them a challenge. Some people, if a game gives somebody a challenge, they're ready to quit because it's too hard or it's too it's a waste of time because I actually have to learn how to do something. People don't play games like that no more. I mean, I've been having a blast with Neo 2 because I never really played a game like that outside of Genshi, The Way of the Samurai. I played that, but this game is giving me a challenge. It's giving me a challenge to the point I can't stream that game. I actually have to be focused and locked in to play that kind of game. But see, that's from the old school. That's the type of games we played back in the early 90s. You know, you had to be locked in and actually learn how to play these games. And I think that's something that we are missing big time. You know. So, I mean, with the PlayStation 3, we're going to be losing a lot of games like that. A lot of like basic, I ain't going to say necessarily, yeah, I guess you could say indie titles. A lot of games that just didn't make it to GameStop or Best Buy. And we're missing out on a lot of that. Because I think the gaming industry try to push a lot of visuals and, oh, that one cool move you can do in a game. And all of a sudden you're sold. And there's nothing wrong with that. I get it. But I always felt that games were here to challenge you. I always felt that games was here to test your hand-eye coordination. It's supposed to test your mechanics. Complimentary Sports says, yes, you're up till 4 a.m. trying to defeat Mega Man. Megan Man, okay. So you must be talking about Roll. You must be talking about Roll. Like, instead of Rockman, you must be talking about Roll, because Roll is Mega Man's sister. You must be talking about Roll. But no, he's right though. Because back then you didn't have any save states. You didn't have a camera phone to actually take a screenshot of the password. You literally had to write down that password and put that paper in a drawer. Or you had to put that paper next to the TV so you can go back and put that password in to continue playing. Sometimes we didn't want to deal with that. The weekend, when we didn't have to go to school, we went out there and we played our ass off when it came to playing these games. Hell, half the time they were rented anyway, so they had to go back to the rental store by Monday morning. So it's just something that we had to deal with. Wild Lion Games, thank you for the follow over there on Twitch. We really appreciate you, bro. I'm surprised the notification. Oh, I don't have the alert box on. I do apologize. Don't have the alert box on. I want to apologize about that. Let me see. The alert box should work now. There it is. There it is. But Wild Lion, thank you for the follow. Thank you for the follow. I thought it would pop up, but it didn't. But he said, I've been meaning to watch your streams, man. It's been a hot minute. Hey man, look, we all have lives, man. And that's another thing. If you can't catch this, I'm gonna have this stuff up on I'm gonna have this on SoundCloud very soon. Once I get that together, because this is the first episode of this podcast. And then from there, I'm going to try to get it on Anchor and Stitcher and all this other stuff. I still need to get the other one or the other podcast on Anchor and Stitcher as well. But definitely it's going to be on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud. We're going to be doing all of that. So if you can't catch the stream live, trust me, within a week or so, you're going to be able to download this on your favorite podcast app. So don't worry about that. Hopefully in a week. Don't hold me to that. Please don't hold me to that. But I do appreciate you, man. Thanks for the follow. But let's get back to these games, man, like why I'm doing what I'm doing with this podcast. And it doesn't, I mean, it's not just all retro stuff. I'm talking about like games of today. You know, games that emerge. Like I've been touting this game right here. I've been talking about this. Let me see if I can get this. Yeah, I've been talking about this game a lot. This game is a really good game to play. And you can be immersed in this game. It's a racing game where it's very competitive. And I think that's a game that, you know, we need more games like that. And I'm pretty sure they're out there. We just don't hear about them because they're not on the mainstream. But when you have games like that, even with the newer games that are out there that are mainstream, like the Miles Morales and the Spider-Mans and stuff, I love those games. Red Dead Redemption, I love those games, but my only big problem with those games seem like they're trying to tell you a story instead of really challenging you. And I'm not talking about like a really big challenge to where you're like dying all the time, like Neo 2, like I was when I first started playing that game. I'm talking about a game that just necessarily like really, it pushes you to try to learn the game bit by bit. I think if y'all watch me play Tekken 7, when not Tekken 7, but Dead or Alive 6, when I kept dying at the end of that boss, because the game kept blacking out because that's what one of the bosses moves. To overcome that and try to beat the game, you know, by learning your skill sets on the fly, I think that's one of the most satisfying feelings when you're gaming. I did a Sunday retro stream when I played another game when I kept dying over and over again. It was another fighting game. I think Antonio Wilson was there. He was one of the few that stayed there the entire time and watched me play that game. And it was a Sunday retro stream and I kept dying in that fighting game, but I kept playing till I beat it. I think that's what gaming is about, where you're constantly being pushed. And it's not necessarily overtly difficult to where you're like getting frustrated. It's like you're learning as you go. And I think that's very satisfying. I remember when I did that with Resident Evil 5, Uncharted 2. And it was such a task for me to try to get that platinum on those games. Both of those games I ended up getting the platinum, but I worked for it. Yeah, the game was a little bit difficult, but it wasn't nothing like really bad. It pushed you. Wild On Game says it's so true. That's why Backbreaker was so fun, because it constantly forced you to stay on top of your stick skills. Exactly. We all can sit here, and this is not a shot to the game, the sim community or anything like that. We'll sit here and talk about what sim, this, that, and the third. But when you have a game that actually teaches you how to play, and it's going to challenge you to be good at it, that's what gaming is all about. NHL, me and DJ used to talk about NHL all the time. The reason why I like NHL, because NHL pushed you not only to learn the game, but to learn the strategy of how to play the game. I love stuff like that, you know? and it's one of the reasons why. I think it's one of the reasons why I did not play. I did not finish Spider-Man. I think it's one of the reasons why I didn't finish God of War. I think it's another one of the reasons why I didn't finish Red Dead Redemption, Grand Theft Auto 5. I didn't finish those games because I didn't feel like I was being challenged. Wow, Arkansas came back up on Oral Roberts. Wow. If my mic's too loud, please let me know. I don't want to be damaging you guys' ears. But, wow, Oral Roberts down by 2. Keep me posted, Combliminary. Appreciate that. I think that's one of the reasons why I haven't finished those games, because they don't. If I get bored really quick, if a game is not pushing me to do better or be better, if all of these like missions or whatever, I'm running through those missions pretty easily, I'll put the game down. You know what I mean? Oh, 1 at 56 left. Okay, wow. But I just think that, and I think that's one of the reasons why I do like Madden now. Well, I can say I never disliked it, but I think it's one of the reasons why I like playing this year's Madden, because it is somewhat of a challenge to play different teams now. It wasn't like that at one point, but now it's great. As far as that goes, teams don't feel the same anymore. Yeah, still have its wonkiness, but teams actually feel different. And not only that, it helps me think about the next move. Complimentary Sport, what was the most difficult game ever? I want to say Battletoads, but I'm not really sure. Battletoads was difficult. Silver Surfer was overtly difficult. Trying to think. Virtual Fighter 4 on the hardest level was difficult. Street Fighter used to be like that for me, like the old Street Fighters, but not so much anymore. I've beaten Super Street Fighter, not Super Street Fighter, I beat Street Fighter 2 Turbo on all 8 stars, so I've done that. Capcom vs. SNK 2 is a difficult game, but I can't pinpoint one. A lot of people may say Bloodborne, but I never was into those type of games. But for me, the most difficult game, honestly, was probably Battletoads or the first Ninja Gaiden. Because even newer games now, they're not that hard. I mean, I beat Uncharted 2 on Crushing. I beat Resident Evil 5 on Professional. I think I beat Resident Evil 4 on Professional. Most games nowadays aren't not really difficult. That's why they call games Souls games, because the Souls games are the difficult ones. I grew up in an era where most games were like genuinely difficult just because they just was released. You know what I'm saying? Like when you hear like the term NES difficult, yeah, like most of the games are like difficult. I mean, I remember when Mario 1 was difficult. Mario 3 was just an intimidating game, because Mario 3 literally, once you got to World 8 in Mario 3, that was like, and imagine now, I'm an 8-year-old kid playing that game. I thought I was going to die playing that game. So that game right there was intimidating enough in itself, and I had to turn around and play that game. I ended up beating it. It took me a couple years to beat it, but I couldn't get through World 8 to save my life. Because if you ever seen World 8, you never seen Mario in a situation like that when it looked like literally he was in hell. It literally looked like he was in hell, and you as a kid, you're like, oh my God, what have I got myself into? But like I said, overall, it'll probably be the first Ninja Gaiden or Battletoads. Those two are probably the most difficult games I played. Yeah. But those type of games when I played back then, it made me to the person who I am now. I'm like literally, I like getting tested in games. The only thing I don't like about playing games like that, I don't like playing games to where I feel cheated and the AI is cheating to make it difficult. Now, you guys could say, well, that's what happened back in the day, but I kind of beg to differ because even back then, the games were very limited to what they can do. Like, yeah, some sprites might move a little faster than usual, but you still overcame it with stick skills like Wild Lion Games say. You can still overcome it. Wait a minute. Wild Lion Games. Is this what I think this is? Wait a minute. Yo, wait a minute. I don't remember your name, but I ran into you playing Backbreaker. Oh my, yes, from way back. You do photography now, right? Are you still in doing photography? Okay, so I know who you. I have to find you on Twitter, man. Shout out to man, Wild Lion's been here for a long time. Appreciate you, man. Good to see you. I had to think about it because when they said Wild Lion, you said Backbreaker. I was like, oh, okay, I know who you are now. Oh wow, man, it's been forever. Let me look on Twitter see if I can find you. Matter of fact, I think I saw you on Twitter talking about the NCAA tournament. Oh my goodness, I can't find you. There it is, Taylor McNeilis. There he is. Taylor, how you been, bro? It's been a long time. Man, it's been a long time. Good to see you. Oh man, I kind of threw myself off. Well, I can talk about a couple of games that gave me trouble. I could talk about a few games that gave me trouble. I remember on the Dreamcast when I was playing Code Veronica. That game gave me trouble because back then when Code Veronica was out, you could have bought back then the internet was still growing, so it wasn't a big thing. You could have bought the strategy guides. You could have got them out of EB Games. That's what it was called back then. No, as a matter of fact, it was called Electronic Boutique before it was turned to GameStop. You can go to Electronic Boutique and I could have got the oh goodness, what you call it? You could have got the strategy guides, and the strategy guides were basically your help. I was stubborn and never got it, and it took me a long time to finally beat Code Veronica. So on the Dreamcast, that was probably the most difficult game I played on there. You say I'm still doing photography, video production, but yeah, just been a bit good and busy. Bro, busy is not the word where I'm being. Yo, and I'm not saying this to be funny. It's been a while since you've been around. Oh, I was just about to talk about that. I'm going to get to that in a second. I'm running 2 channels. I'm running 2 YouTube channels. I'm running 2. I'm running a Twitch channel, and I'm doing Facebook gaming right now. On top of that, I am a truck driver where I drive almost 12 to 14 hours a day. Oh, Oral Roberts lost. Oh, that sucks. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I do all that. Plus, I'm a father. I'm a husband, and I have a lot going on. So I know what busy is all about. I know what it's all about. But I do this for you guys. But let's get back to these games. That was the most hardest game for me on Dreamcast. On PlayStation 2, the hardest game for me on that one was, oh goodness. I want to say Grand Theft Auto 3. And it wasn't because of the game itself. It was the final boss. I mean, the final chapter we had to shoot down the helicopter. You had to go against a cartel. Oh my God, that was horrible. Between that and God of War 2, those two are probably my most difficult on that. N64, Ocarina of Time easily was probably the most hardest game for me because I'm with you on that. I wasn't really big on Sega on the N64. My mom was. She was really big on that game. And I used to be helping her out play it. and I was no help because I was getting my butt whooped. So all the other games, GoldenEye, GoldenEye was nothing. Most of the N64 games, like a lot of racing games. I remember Cruising USA, even NBA Hang Time. They had the arcade mode on there. Well, it played true to the arcade, so that was tough. But Ocarina of Time easily. Super Nintendo, the most hardest game I played on Super Nintendo. I want to say Castlevania 4, but that was fairly easy. I don't think too many games for me was pretty hard. Maybe Mega Man X2, and that game wasn't really hard. It was different from the first one, because Mega Man X1, I beat that pretty easily. I mean, I did a Sunday retro stream on Mega Man X1. That was nothing. Maybe Mortal Kombat 2, that was a tough one to play on Super Nintendo when you cranked up the difficulty. Keep working, dog. Better be busy than sitting around twiddling your thumbs. That sounds like a lot. I feel, yeah, it is. It is. I'm just thankful that, I'm thankful that my wife puts up with it, because I know there's times where, I mean, she like to be left alone anyway, because I get on her nerves a lot, because I know I could be sickening. I know I could be sickening sometimes. So, yeah. Yeah, that's for N64, Super Nintendo, NES. I said Battletoads, Ninja Gaiden. Atari never really had difficult games per se. They were more frustrating than anything. But I was young when I was playing that. PlayStation 3, the most difficult game I played on PS3. But see, this is starting to get around the era where games were like just easy. I mean, even for the original Xbox, I mean, I had trouble with Panzer Dragoon Orta. I mean, it took me a while, but I had trouble with that game. That game was pretty tough. But like I said, once you get to the 360, PS3 era, a lot of games held our hands. Even with the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, there are no really difficult games when it started to get to that era. So I can't even think of any. To be honest, I can't think of any. Because most of the games I played, I beat. And they weren't that difficult. Yes, I pretty much that's it, I can think of difficult moments. Yeah, exactly. Like back on the PS3, like I would say like on Uncharted 2, the train moment when you had to go up when you had to catch the train, that was a difficult moment. When you're looking at I'm trying to think. Gears of War wasn't even that difficult on 360 in my opinion. Except for that one time on Gears of War 1 when you had to face that thing that was running through the walls and stuff. That they can hear you, so you had to get really close to them. That was rough. And and on Gears of War 1 when you had to face that thing in the junkyard. Oh man, that was pretty rough too. That was pretty rough. Hold on, let me see. I can allow that. There we go. Say like Call of Duty 4 on Veteran when you had to wait by the Ferris wheel. Oh my God. Oh. That's after you did the sniper thing, right? And you had to leave. Yeah, you had to, when you did the sniper thing and you had to leave from the helicopter. Yeah, oh man. Yeah, that was rough. Oh, also on COD 4, the veteran when you was in the barnyard. When you was in the barnyard, that was a difficult moment as well. The final boss on Horizon Zero Dawn was crazy. DJ, did you find that game for a good price? Is that game on sale on Steam? Because I want to buy that game. I have it on PS. Yeah, I have it on PS4. I mean, I don't mind playing it on there, but if I can get it on PC at a cheap price, I'll go ahead and get it. If not, I'll just play the PS4 version. Yeah, you got to run across the hayfield. That was because you didn't have any cover. You didn't have any cover. You played that on Veteran, you were stuck. It's not on sale. I mean, I know it's worth the price. I know it's worth the price. But I just want to know if it was on sale because I already got a copy of it. Complimentary Sports says solving puzzles on the first Tomb Raider. Yeah, that was difficult. The first Tomb Raider was rough because you just didn't know. Even when if you knew the controls, it was a lot of muscle memory. It was a lot of muscle memory to actually learn that game. And I played it on a PlayStation 1. I did not finish. That's one game I didn't finish. I bought it on PC. That game does not work on my rig. It doesn't work on my old PC rig. It did not work at all. It would not boot up. It would boot up and then cut right off. PC gaming problems. But I haven't tried it on this rig that I got now. So I may try it. I also have it on the Saturn. Now imagine you playing that game on the Saturn with the D-pad. That's a challenge in itself. You play the first Tomb Raider on the Saturn with just a D-pad. I bet that is horrible. I may need to try that. I may need to do that because I have the game behind me on Saturn. Oh man, that'd be horrible. Uncharted 4, playing that on Crushing, that was pretty rough. Uncharted 2 on Crushing was rough. I'm trying to think what other game. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time, playing that on the hardest difficulty. That was pretty rough. Tank controls in the first Resident Evil. Yes, that's another one. Those tank controls on Resident Evil was like the worst. They were like the worst. But once you learned it, you kind of caught on to it. But man, it was just tough. It was tough. Trying to think any other difficult moments. Spider-Man on PS1 has some tough moments. I remember. Yes, Maximum Carnage on the Super Nintendo is a tough game too. That game's no joke. Matter of fact, I want to play that game. I want to play that game and I want to beat that game. That's one game I never did beat, and that's my favorite superhero game. Maximum Carnage on the Super Nintendo was like my favorite game, and I'm not able to beat that game. Y'all give me 1 second. I'm gonna see something really quick. Let me check something out. Cause I think I'm cause DJ said also to fix camera angles. I think my camera angle is kind of fixed. Oh no, it's right. It's right. Okay. I just want to make sure. Okay. Yeah, Maximum Carnage is a rough game. That game is bona fide. It's like the best LJN game that was ever made. And you know how LJN is. AVGN basically made LJN games the butt jokes of all gaming. No, I know you were talking about Resident Evil fixed camera angles, but when you said that, it made me think about my camera angle. But no, yeah, that made it worse. And then you had to try to aim and shoot at those certain camera angles. And don't be on the edge of a camera angle to where it may flip back and forth and you're in the same room. Like you might be at this one spot of the camera angle where you're shooting this zombie, but if you step back, it'll go to another camera angle. Oh my God, that was horrible. That was like the worst. Jesus Christ, that was the worst. Playing against Bo Jackson and Tecmo Bowl. Yes, that I don't even know if that was difficult or that game was just flat out cheating. Bo Jackson on Tecmo Bowl is a flat out cheat. I mean, that was just straight up. They programmed that game just all jacked up, all messed up. It was horrible how they made that game. Love to play with them, hate to play against them. RE2 remake with Mr. Ed. Yeah, that was nerve-wracking. I can imagine that. Yeah. I remember when I played against him, I can imagine how that's nerve-wracking. But then again, Nemesis was on the PS1 Resident Evil 3. I mean, Nemesis was like ridiculous. And speaking of difficult games, like, I ain't gonna say this too much difficult, like Metal Gear Solid, the first one. That wasn't really difficult. But playing against Psycho Man, this was like the worst. It was like toying with you. I hate how they did that. It was a genius move, but I hate how they did that with Psycho Mantis. It was horrible. Um, Super C. Contra 2 was a difficult game. Like I said, Ninja Gaiden. There's a moment in that game where that game is pretty difficult. I think when you get to 6-3, level 6-3, and you have to fight that guy at the top of the yellow building. I can't remember what it is, but it's difficult as shit. So that's another one. Trying to think. PlayStation 4 wise, PlayStation 3 wise. I really can't think of really like I think Wild Lion said, Wild Lion said, it's more like difficult moments in the game now. Like the game itself is not difficult. Like there were some games that like right off the rip, you had to learn this game or you're gonna have a tough time. And even when you learned the game, you still was challenged. You don't have games like that no more. Nowadays, if you have a game now to where you play a game now, it's once you learn it, you're pretty much good throughout the most of the game. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's one of the things that where our hands are held for the most part of that. They'll give you the tutorial, and after that, you're good to go. Yeah, for real. Like Wild Lion said, yeah, for real. Like Heavy Rain, I thought I was gonna be harder than it was. Difficult moments, but overall not too bad. The hardest part in Heavy Rain when you had to go through that area with the electricity, that was like the hardest part. You know, when you had to go through the electricity and you tried to get through it, and if you couldn't get through it, there was a little door on the side that said coward. That was like the hardest part of Heavy Rain. Everything else is like, okay. I remember the first time I did that, I went through the door because I couldn't. Right, exactly. So you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. It's like that part, I went through the door because it wasn't because I just got frustrated. I couldn't do it. But the second time I played it, I got through it. But yeah, that part, man, you got to go through those electrical wires. I mean, oh my God. It was so nerve-wracking. I got pissed off at it. Yeah, it's a really dope game. I mean, I got the PS4 version. I think I still got the PS3 version behind me. But I played it on PS3. I did not finish it on PS4. That's a really good game to stream, too. It's a really good game to stream. I may need to do that one day. But yeah, it's like you said, like there's just a bunch of moments now. And I think that's one thing. I think I'm going to talk about that in another episode. Is where gamers today, I think they are gamers. I will say that, but I don't think they're challenged gamers. Soon as a gamer gets challenged, and I'm talking about this in general, soon as they get challenged, the majority of gamers would just quit. DJ was just talking about Resident Evil 2 with Mr. X. When that game first came out, and a lot of these guys actually, Dante Hinton, thank you for the follow, bro. Dante is a friend of mine back when I grew up. Appreciate you coming through, man. Thank you. He's a friend of mine that I knew when I was growing up. He followed me on Facebook. Thank you. Talking about Mr. X. When that game first came out, a lot of people were just sitting here upset because Mr. X was who he was. And I'm like, yo, I'm not trying to show your age or anything like that. I'm not trying to show your age, but you don't realize how Nemesis was on Resident Evil 3? You know what I mean? I mean, Resident Evil 3 would be equivalent to how Mr. X was. And you didn't think that... clearly, this person didn't play that game. That's why I was like, okay... So, but when people get challenged, they don't want to play a game anymore. And I think that really sucks. Because there's nothing more satisfying than beating a game once you actually overcome that game. It's one of the reasons why I had to go back and do Heavy Rain again. I had to get through that electrical wire area. That was horrible. You know what I mean? I'm not going to let this game beat me. I can't. let a game beat me, and especially if it's a game I'm interested in. If I'm interested in it and I want to play it and I want to beat it, I'm going to do whatever I got to do to beat it. I would not give up on that game. Complimentary Sports says, I never met someone to defeat Duck Hunt. I never did either. My mom, no, it wasn't my mom. I think it was my uncle. God rest his soul. He passed away earlier this year. He was really good at Duck Hunt, but I don't think he ever beat it. And he's a Sega guy. Yeah, you already know the whole story I think about when it comes to him and playing the Genesis. He's a big fan of Joe Montana Sports Talk Football. And he was really good at Duck Hunt, but I've never seen someone beat that game yet. You're right. To this day, I know I haven't. But I think that's like a real problem. Like, you have people who get mad, and they got mad how difficult the game was. Uncharted 4 was on Crushing. And I think they ended up patching the game. They ended up patching the game so it'll be easier. Well, that sucks, because I didn't get the chance to beat the game on Crushing on the most difficult level. I got halfway through, and I was going to go back to it and beat it on Crushing, and I never did. What I did was I ended up beating the game on hard, but I didn't beat it on Crushing. I'll probably go back and do it, but it's not the original difficulty the way it was. But like I said, you just have a lot of people who don't. You have a lot of people that just don't. They don't try to push themselves to be better at games. They just want to push. They want to beat a game real quick and jump to the next one. And a lot of people who do that, they don't have an attachment to the game. They just want to play it. And social media plays a big part of that. But like I said, that's a whole can of worms I can talk about on another episode. And I think I want to do that because another episode, I don't even say is episode number 2, but I do want to talk about social media effect on games. And I think social media has gotten us to the point where we don't appreciate the games that come out, because everybody's opinions that we see on social media, it ruins that. Not only it ruins the expectation, it ruins our own personal experience with the game. And back then, if you grew up in the 90s, when you played games, you didn't have that type of influence. And social media is a form of influence. And I think that's the rough part about it. And we'll talk about that at another time. Let's get back into the more difficult moments. I'm trying to think. I really can't think of like more difficult moments, because all the other games that came out, they were like easy to get through. Kind of sucks, but that's how that goes. I guess I'll fly over one more topic before I go, because I did say that I want this podcast to run about an hour, probably about an hour and a half. And we're getting to the hour and 18-minute mark. So I'll try to run one more topic by you guys, something that crossed my mind not too long ago, when it comes to just gaming in general, and being a voice or having a voice in gaming. I think for the most part, when we do game and we find something wrong, I think we all get to a situation where we don't, I ain't gonna say give proper feedback. I think we don't communicate. I guess you could say that. We don't get proper feedback when it comes to your experience with games. And I'm not just talking about like talking to developers or whatever the case may be. I'm more talking about in a sense of communicating or get with one another. I can sit here and tell you a game is bad. Dirt 5. That game is bad. I don't recommend you playing that game. If you're playing that game, I want to know what's wrong with you. Dirt 5 is absolutely horrible. But when someone has a bad experience with a game, I really want to know, like, I wish more people would talk about why they're having a bad experience. And I wish other people would come back with a rebuttal to actually, give people some feedback to try to like the game again. Because sometimes we don't like games because we don't, and I'm not trying to, mess with nobody's intelligence, because I've done this. We don't understand the game that we're playing. We look at the visuals, we think the game looks cool, you see everybody else playing it, and when you play it, you may not have that good experience. And I know, and I think if you've been gaming for as long as I have, I think that you've encountered that at one point. Even if you go back and think about it, you probably encountered it where this game may not have been bad. I may not have known what I was doing. Case in point, Neo 2. I never played the first Neo. I went straight to Neo 2. I bought it on Steam when it was on sale. Matter of fact, it probably wasn't on sale. I think I paid the whole $59. But I bought that game and I played it and I kept dying. I think I still got the streams up on Twitch. You can go check it out. I never understood it, and I started to dislike the game. But what happened was I had to learn the mechanics. And I didn't never talk to anybody about what to do. I just took it upon myself to actually see what was going on with this game. And once I learned the game is still challenging, but now it's so much fun to play because I know what the hell I'm doing. I think a lot of people forget or don't even try to learn games now. If something's wrong with the game, or if I ain't gonna say something wrong, if they can't overcome certain things in the game, some people just put the game down. And I'm not talking about if the game's bad, something's wrong with the game. And if the game is a little bit difficult for you, I think that we as a collective should talk about it. And I think that's one of the reasons why I do this podcast. I want to do this podcast because we can have those discussions all right, why such and such a game is not enjoyable? What are we doing wrong? Because every game's not going to be enjoyable, but all of us as a collective is going to find something fun in a certain game. DJ would be the first one to tell you, I like Mag. I'm a big fan of Mag. Hold on one second. I'm about to flip DJ out. I know he's still here. And look at my PlayStation 3 for a second. I like this game. This game no longer can be played because it's an online only game. But I love this game. DJ hates this game. But I learned to like that game because I started to understand it. At first I didn't understand it and I didn't like it because I didn't understand it. But it's not a bad game. DJ will beg to differ. I don't care what he thinks. But I like that game. I love it. It's one of my favorite games. Oh, my PS3 won't cut off. There we go. Hey, now, DJ. You don't have to be all that. Don't have to be all that. But I didn't like it at first. But I learned to like it because I understood what they were doing. And I think a lot of people, I think there's when I put the subtitle "Voice of a Gamer," when I talk about that, I look at it from a standpoint to where we all can have a voice of what games that we like, or some games that we're interested in. If we're interested in it, I think we should be able to discuss it. And I know this podcast is not going to be a podcast where we talk about the brand new topics or what happened with this microtransaction or why this new game is this because I don't want this to be a podcast, a carbon copy of everybody else is doing. Everybody will take the brand new hot topic and make a video or a live stream about it within seconds. I want to be the opposite of that, to where I just talk about normal stuff. Like next episode, I might tell you about the game, The Way of the Wounded Dragon, a game that y'all might never heard about before, or we may talk about another game that I may pull up, or you guys could come up with a game that you never talked about and you may want you never heard of, or a game that you like, you have your guilty pleasure, and you want to bring it to the table, and maybe I'll try it and we'll discuss it on this platform. And I think that'll be a great. I think this would be a great little area of dialogue where we could have that, because it's so easy. Like Crash Bandicoot just came out. People are probably gonna be talking about Crash Bandicoot 4 all of a sudden. I may talk about it a little bit, but I'm not gonna make it my main focus. Like whatever new game comes out, I'm not about to make it my main focus, because you already heard that throughout the entire week. Every Saturday at 8:30, I'm going to be here doing this, and I don't want to talk about what everybody else talked about throughout the week. And this is why, everybody who's here, I appreciate y'all. The few that's over here on Facebook, the few of y'all that's over here on Twitch. If you haven't already, follow me over there on Twitch, man. If you haven't hit the like button, go ahead and hit the like button on YouTube. I want this to grow. I want this to be an area to where we as gamers can be just that. We can be gamers. We don't have to be fussing about, well, this game is this game is that, or console war this, console war that. I just want to talk about gaming. Like this whole entire episode, we talked about games, enjoying games. Why do we enjoy them? What is challenging in a game? Wild Lion says, good first episode. I think you're on the right path with the type of content you want to discuss. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And I don't know if I know you wasn't here earlier, but I feel like I was born to do this. And I always wanted to find a topic that I wanted to talk about. I did a channel last year that I reluctantly did. I did a channel last year that I don't have any regrets, but I did a channel last year that probably shouldn't have been done. And I felt like it was wasted time, because I could have been doing this the entire time, where I'm talking about something that I have passion for, something that I love. Chris Thomas, how you doing, bro? Good to see you over there on the YouTube side. I feel that I know this is my passion. I've been gaming since 1985, and I'm not saying that to be funny. I've been gaming since I was 3 years old, and I'm now 38, and I constantly have fun doing this. I constantly have fun picking up a controller, playing with mouse and keyboard, playing with the arcade stick. I constantly have fun doing this, and I don't think this enjoyment will ever end. So while I enjoy this, why would I want to have gripes about this hobby? Like I said, everywhere you turn around now, every YouTube channel you see, and I'm not knocking them because they still make great content, but every channel you see, somebody's upset about something. Why? I want to change that. It's one of the reasons why I got this shirt right here. I don't know if you guys can see it. No shirt, less complaining, more gaming. And I have a lot of merch on Teespring. You go check that out. My wife also does shirts as well with Concise Creations. You can go check that out as well, because this is what it's about. It's about playing video games and enjoying yourself. And I think that's something that we'll be able to do here. So I think once again, I thank everybody who came through. If you just getting here, this will be up on the Twitch channel. I think it'll be up on Facebook as well, and it'll be up on the VFcast YouTube channel. So if you guys want to check it out, go back and look at this. I always said I want to do about an hour and 30 minutes. It's about that time. We're almost done here. Also, look for it sometime later on in the week. I will have this up on SoundCloud first, and then I will try to move it to other areas. Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher, Anchor. I'm going to try to do all of that by the end of the week, by the time episode 2 is up. I kind of got this all together at the last second because I had to do some things for my son when I first started, but that's just how it would be. Like I said, if you haven't already, man, share this, man. Let people know what I'm doing over here, man. I'm trying to do this for you guys, people who want to learn about games, because I got a ton of information about games off the top of my head. I've been doing this since the 80s. I don't know everything, but goddamn it, what I know, I feel that it could be pretty entertaining and informative to you guys. Yes, there will be a stream tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. That'll be on the Twitch channel and on Facebook Gaming. And that's where I will be streaming tomorrow. Also, I'll be streaming on Monday. That'll be the retro stream on Monday. So I'm gonna get out of here. Thank you guys once again. You guys have been excellent. I really appreciate it. Wild Lion Peace. I will see you next time. Hopefully every Saturday, 8:30, I will be here. We'll have a second episode on deck. I'll have the topics, because we will have topics. This is more of an intro, but we'll have more topics, and we'll just go from there. You guys be blessed. I always say this. You guys be blessed. You guys be safe. And I'll see you guys next time. All right, y'all. Peace.